I want to ring a bell. Good morning. Welcome to FYI for your information. Thanks for joining us, and we trust that you guys are great. FYI for your information, wherever in the world you guys are joining us from this morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Another day, another program, guys. It's the 21st day of September. Can you imagine it? The 21st day of September already. Technicians, you're going to let us know if you're hearing us loud and clear and loud. That's how we want to be heard. Wherever in the world you're joining us this morning, we're so happy that you made us perhaps your first stop for the day in getting credible and valid information. And we're happy that each of you are here with us. Good to see all of you joining us. Those of you who are joining us on Twitter, some of you guys are joining us on Facebook. Some of you guys are going to be joining us on LinkedIn. Our YouTubers, our tubers, some of you guys are going to be joining us at that end, and across the pages, you guys are going to be joining us on Facebook of itself. We encourage you guys to like those pages, to share those pages as well. We send lots and lots of information to share with you, beautiful folks, and we are just delighted. We are just ecstatic that you folks are here with us this morning, and we are happy that we're here with you all too. Good to have you folks. As you know, guys, quite a sad morning. We started our broadcast quite early, all the way up at Anns Grove on the East Coast. And boy, oh boy, some of the events that are taking place there are very, very sad indeed. But we're so happy that you folks are here with us now. And we're going to be telling you a little bit more about that. If you guys didn't have a chance to join us for that early broadcast we had from Anns Grove this morning, we're going to bring you guys up to date on that. But we're really happy that you folks are here with us. And it's another day, guys, and we trust that for this month, this week, you're a little closer to accomplishing some of your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. For those folks who are now joining us, of course, we want to say again, welcome to FYI. You're in the right place. You know, as you come on, guys, share the live, smash that emoji button, and partner with us as well. That ensures that all our programs continue to go forward in a way that that is sustainable, because we know how much you guys like valid, credible information. We have such a passion for giving you valid, credible information as well. Good to have you guys here. Share the live, smash that emoji button. You're joining us on a Facebook page. Ensure you follow, like that page. Share as well. Share the live broadcast wherever you're picking us up from. I'm going to be joined by Amanda Walton Desir in just a little bit. My co-host, Drita, has a couple of days off. As you know, Drita is unwell, and then unwell physically, and then emotionally too. One of the gentlemen who lost their lives in that Bartica boat incident was her immediate neighbor, and so she has gone up there to grieve with their family. The good book says we must grieve with those who grieve, we must laugh with those who laugh, mourn with those who mourn. The good book. And so Drita's gone up there, and she's going to be lending some support to that family. There's a tightly knitted community there in Bartica, and that's as much as we're going to tell you about Drita's whereabouts. And Amanda is going to be joining us in a little bit and helping us to take you through some of the paces, some of the valid, credible information we think you wonderful folks ought to have. We are so delighted that you guys are here with us. You know, we'd rather start the board with no other bunch of folks. That Naomi Drucker is here. We have Doreen Clark is here as well. Andrew Griffith, Ingrid King, Bella Mona, all of you beautiful, special people. I see MP Ganesh Mahipal, who always finds himself for some reason on the wrong side of the camera. He should be on the other side with us here, but you know, he's the only child. Rachel Wolford is here as well. I see Ingrid King and Tessa Isaacs, Graves Andy. Guys, we're so privileged that you guys come in your numbers every day and you join this program. And I think you guys give us more fuel than I think we give you information to just keep doing what we do as hosts for the programs, as parliamentarians, as individuals. You guys are such a blessing in that regard. I see Gwyneth Anderson is here with us. I see Ingrid King. I see Romaya. Is it Andre? Brenda Braffett, Patricia Sana. Guys, welcome. It's Wednesday. It's in the middle of the week. We are right there in the middle of the week. I got a packed agenda. What about your agenda for the day, guys? How are you faring? Well, I know some of you probably have done halfway around the world from where you started the morning. I know some of you is pace and power. and for some others, we got the struggles, but we gotta pull them along with us to get to that finish line of this month, whatever were your goals and aspirations. And I hope you guys plan. I hope you guys plan on accomplishing stuff. You got your plan, just like how you got a marketplace. You plan your day. You plan your day. So we're not just out here wasting time. Purpose driven life. Rick Warren, powerful book by Pastor Rick Warren. The purpose driven life. We ain't just existing, folks. We ain't just living. We want to move beyond this. We want to thrive. Now that's something. I don't know how to get money, Thriving is not about having plenty of money and being rich and all of those things. It's the kind of attitude you wake up with, that go-getter spirit. You're not waiting for things to happen. No. You're creating your circumstances. You're waiting till people offer you a seat at the table. You're bringing your own damn seat to the table. That's the kind of attitude we're talking about. Purpose-driven to accomplish those goals and aspirations. Keep going after those things. Keep going after them. It might be physical things. It might be, I don't know what your goals and aspirations are. As eclectic, not eclectic in that sense, as varied as we are as people, right? So our hopes and dreams and aspirations. But I hope that today brings you that much closer, guys. That much closer to accomplishing some of those things. We really, really hope that it brings you that much closer. Good to see Gloria Chester from Diamond is with us. Good to see you, Gloria. Sukhchan Sudhari is here as well. I see Romana Adri says, let's go Warriors. I don't know. I like my blood pressure where it is. And I am with y'all this Warriors cricket TPL business here. I can just take in the replays and see the outcome. I protected my mental health. That's why I do it. When I see the Silver and Beatrice Selby, Karen Black, Denzel Hamilton, good to see you. Amanda's gonna come. I'm gonna fade away into the background for a little bit, and then I'm gonna come back, and we are going to. I'm gonna bring up the flank. I'm gonna bring up the rear, rather. I'm gonna bring up the rear. Amanda's gonna lead the charge. I'll take you through some of the early paces, and then I'm gonna come back, and together we can bring it home. Together we can bring it home. She's gonna come in a second, folks. So once you see this, we are switching places. And to hold strain for Manza. She's coming. Hold strain for Manza. I'm certain she's excited to be here with you guys, as I am. I think I'm more excited to be here with you folks. Amanza's coming. And I hope her mic is hot and she's good to go. All right. She's going to come and we're going to pace and power. It's going to shift around a little bit. And it's going to shift around a little bit, so don't get too accustomed to it like that. But generally, folks, leaving with a mantra for a second.
Good morning, and welcome. It's certainly a pleasure to be here with you this morning on FYI. It's a very, very interesting start to our morning. Sherrod has been out in Ansgrove, and we've been following the stories that are happening there. And so, we're going to bring you some more later on in the program. But we want to say good morning. If the technical guys could pull up the comments so that we could greet our usual, our family. I was listening to what Sherrod was saying, and it is so important that in the midst of all the disenchantment, as the Desiderata says, just know that we are as perennial as the grass. And so we have to, at these times, seize our day and command our day and decide in our hearts and minds how we want our day to look, despite of all that is happening around us. There's so much happening. To wake up this morning to Sherrod going live from Ansgrove, to see that there has been a murder and an attempted suicide, an entire family has been decimated. It is really, really heartrending, and our thoughts and prayers are with the family. Good morning, Robin Narine. Good morning, Lyndon Jones. Good morning, June Cameron and Afifa Mohammed. And Singh says pace and power. And Singh says pace and power. Good morning. Good morning, guys. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Alison Pearson. Good morning, Donna Pelu Franco, and good morning, Joy Hopkinson. Let's know what's happening in your neck of the woods. Andre says to show some patriotism. Amazon Warriors is we own. Well, Andre, my heart is also my own, and I need to take care of it. And so, I am, I am. Red Pereira once said that this is not for the faint of heart. And every year. But, let's go Warriors. We hope that they are able to put on a showing and redeem themselves throughout the CPL. I have Natasha Congraves. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Simone Hooper says attempted. Yes, Simone. Well, the preliminary reports were that he had killed himself, but then as we were on the ground, we were subsequently able to confirm that he had not died, that it was the son who had died, and his wife was in critical condition in the hospital. June Cameron says it's bright and sunny in Brooklyn. Ingrid Ambrose says, good morning, Simone Patricia Jones Bell. Good morning, FYI family. Good morning, Fitzgulliver. We're gonna go into what is happening in the morning papers, and we're going to be covering a number of issues. As you know, there are a number of very important topical issues happening, and we're going to go through those. First up, we're seeing some very important work from our colleague MP, Mr. Ganesh Mahipal. He is requesting the disclosure of salaries of the Commission of Inquiry into the elections. He's requesting the salaries of the commissioners. And it is so important that we have this type of information so that we know exactly what is happening. As you are aware, the government has convened a commission of inquiry into the 2020 regional and general elections, the general and regional elections. Now, as you know, we have made opposition on this very, very clear that there are petitions in the court, there are criminal charges being filed against individuals. And so it does appear as if the Commission of Inquiry is intended to undermine, as it were, or could potentially undermine these cases proceeding. For example, in terms of the criminal cases, they may prejudice the defendants their right to proper defense. And so there are a number of issues that are surrounding this commission of inquiry. And so we want to know, why is it that the government is fighting tooth and nail these petitions from proceeding, but is instead proceeding to have a commission of inquiry into the very same circumstances? The commission of inquiry is not inquiring into circumstances dissimilar to the elections petition. And so one has to question the motive. Why not allow the petitions to be heard, much like was done in Kenya? Kenya, they were able to hear and resolve these elections petitions in less than a few weeks. It is important that when it comes to our elections, that we receive the proper imprimatur of the court, and that is the safest and surest way to go. So we're asking for them to disclose their salaries. And so we're picking this up out of Stabrook News this morning. And it says, opposition parliamentarian Ganesh Mahipal has moved for full disclosure of the remuneration packages of the chair, commissioners, and other members of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the March 2020 general and regional elections. Mahipal submitted that request to the Commissioner of Information, Justice Charles Ramson Sr., on Monday. And so we will definitely be following, that very closely to see where it is that, when the responses are forthcoming, because we want to know, we must remember that this is the people's money. This is not the, government's money. These are taxpayers' funds that are being used, and as such, accountability is important. So we're going to ask the technical guys to once again pull up the daily items, the news items. We're going to see them displayed on the screen for you. So we're going to have a short break, but let me answer the question that Maureen Coppin Williams is posting. She says, were the terms of reference published? Yes, they were published. The terms of reference were published late the evening of the day that the commissioners were sworn in, and in a subsequent show, we're going to be delving into detail into those terms of reference. And what we can say to you is that they are investigating the similar circumstances as have been set out in the petitions. Remember, Maureen, they all arise from one set of circumstances. And so we are concerned that this just appears to be a publicity stunt by the government. We're going to be following it very closely. I could tell you that it's all interconnected. I could tell you that yesterday, the leader of the opposition had his press conference, and what was said is that we are writing to GCOM. We are asking GCOM to make full disclosure of all of the information that was submitted by the APNUAFC in terms of the persons who were either absent from the jurisdiction on the day that elections were held, or who at the time of the elections were deceased, yet votes were cast in their names. And so we are asking for full and frank disclosure. So guys, we will be updating you as that situation unfolds. When Ganesh would have received the information, we will certainly be bringing it to you. We're following up another story with the $400 million in gold stolen from a Mahaika hoarder. And we're learning that a man has been jailed, and Berbice cops are among 4 in custody. Now, this is what we have been talking about when we continue to make the point that it is important that the people of Guyana be able to trust in their law enforcement officials. We have been saying time and time again that the entire Bascom saga has been saying to us, look, all is not well in the Guyana police force. And we would have hoped that Irfan Ali would have taken the opportunity to investigate and to restore some modicum of professionalism to the police force. But alas, that has not been forthcoming. And so you have now cops involved in this issue of the $400 million in gold that went missing. And again, we're following the stories in the media this morning. City constable stabbed to death after threats turned to violence. So much bloodshed in our nation. This happened yesterday. This morning, you had that bloodshed in Anns Grove. There seems to be something going on in this nation that we have to pay keen attention to. I know that some people are saying that we need to pray for Guyana. We absolutely must continue to pray for Guyana. We're following this out of the Stabroek News this morning, and what it says is that a constable was stabbed to death yesterday. This happened yesterday morning after he attacked a man who was trying to stop him from harassing his sister-in-law, which is, from what we understand, the reputed wife of the constable. The deceased, Lester Sobers, 25 of 510, Block XA, Fields of Fire, Greater Georgetown, and a father of one, was fatally stabbed on Mandel Avenue in the vicinity of the Sevons Waste Management Corporate Headquarters. And guys, this is what we're imploring. We're seeing an escalation in violence in our nation, particularly interpersonal violence, and particularly between husband and wife. And it is something that we keep advocating, that we have to have a holistic approach to dealing with this issue. It is certainly not something that we can afford to brush under the rug and ascribe to, he was hot-headed or whatever. There are far more deeper issues. There are far deeper issues, we believe, that is manifesting, that they're manifesting themselves in this scourge of violence in our land. It is clear, it is very, very clear that we have to be able to have programs to support our citizens, programs to deal with anger management, programs to deal with how you manage stress. The science shows that there's a direct correlation to stress and interpersonal violence. There's a direct correlation to dissatisfaction with oneself and the correlating violence. And so we have to be able, we're a nation of 750,000 persons. And so we have to be able to craft meaningful solutions to have this matter tempered. But there is way too much bloodshed happening. I am still recovering from waking up this morning to the scenes that we saw in Anns Grove. And so, we have to really, really, really have a concerted effort. And this issue is not, I want to stress, a partisan issue. The issue of interpersonal violence and how do we as a nation tackle the scourge of interpersonal violence. It should not be a partisan issue. This should be an issue where both the government and the opposition can come to the table and say, this is a matter affecting our citizens. And we therefore have to together craft meaningful interventions and come up with meaningful solutions for this issue. And so we cannot afford to keep losing our productive citizens. I mean, the young man this morning that was killed he was 21 years of age. Here you have a 25-year-old. Men are in their prime who should be going on to lead lives as productive citizens are being cut down, all because of this scourge of interpersonal violence. And so it is something that we have to be able to stem. Moving on in the news, issues in the news, we're seeing that a rigorous campaign is underway to remove children from the street. And we are witnessing all of these issues because these are manifestations of a deeper problem. They're manifestations of a deeper issue. All of these things, the interpersonal violence, the children in the street begging when they should actually be in school, these are manifestations of a deeper problem. And that is that there is a significant increase in poverty in Guyana. And there is no sugarcoating it, and there's no way around it. Poverty has increased significantly. The figures and the GDP that the country is announcing and that they are recording do not present a true picture of life on the ground for the average Guyanese. It is hard for the average Guyanese. It is hard for the poor and working class Guyanese. There are many people who cannot afford one meal per day. And you see their children in the streets. We just had a government that made a huge deal about the $30,000 cash grant. We cautioned at that time that giving that cash grant was no guarantee.
Right.
In the absence of conditions, there was no guarantee that the children would be in school. And so what you found is that people have collected the cash grants and children still are not in school. And we must ask ourselves why. It is not because these are delinquent parents, but the reality is that that $30,000 per child went to food, it went to creditors, it went to paying debts that people had accumulated. And so we kept saying to the government, this piecemeal approach to tackling issues will not work. And the high incidence of street children is a very clear indication that the approach is not working. And if the approach is not working, the sensible thing to do would be to change direction.
Yeah.
But we're not seeing that from this government. And so we are following that story coming out of the Guyana Chronicle this morning. And they are saying to us that with the launch of the Streetlight Initiative, the government is announcing this rigorous campaign. We see here that the Minister of Social Security, Dr. Vindi Prasad, is acknowledging the need for a more rigorous campaign to remove vulnerable and wandering children from the streets of Guyana. The Ministry of Human Services and Social Security on Monday launched its Streetlight Initiative. The Streetlight project entails officers going out into the streets and picking up children who are on the streets. They will start that exercise today, Monday, Minister of Human Services and Social Security said during a simple launch of the exercise. Dr. Prasad said children who wander the streets are vulnerable to exploitation, abuse, accidents, and other issues, and said that the ministry has been working to remove those children from the streets. We want to make it very clear that we absolutely need to remove children from the streets. This is not something that we are against, but we have to caution that it requires a far more holistic approach. Because you go today, you take the children off the streets, and then what? If you do not address the root causes of the children being on the street in the first place, it is only a matter of time, only a matter of days before they return to the street. And so this is why we keep saying that there has to be a holistic approach. Maureen Coppin Williams, you're absolutely right. You said that all they're doing is putting a big band-aid on big wounds. And that is absolutely right. That is absolutely right. We have to be able to deal with these problems from a whole of government, a whole of systems approach, because you will simply be putting band-aid on a wound and not treating the actual cause of the issue. Maureen asked another very important question. What are the plans for them? And this is where we do not see that the minister has said in any great detail that we are going to be working on the back end to ensure that these children are off of the streets. Look, Guyana has for the first time resources available to it that we have never had. And therefore, it is time for us to be sober. We have to be able to be sober and approach our development in a sober fashion. If not, we are going to find ourselves squandering the resources with which we have been blessed. And I keep making the point that a number of these issues ought not to be politically contentious. It ought not to be defined by geography and political affiliation. These are matters that can be addressed in a bipartisan manner. And so I am hopeful that Minister Prasad will reach across the aisle and engage her fellow parliamentarians on meaningful strategies. Everything does not have to be a fight and a lick down, as we say here in Guyana. When it comes to taking our children off of the streets, there should be a bipartisan approach. When you're serious about governance, one of the things that you would see is an indication from whoever is in government that they're willing to reach across the aisle. If I were Vindhya Prasad, what I would have done is invite colleague MPs from across the aisle. Look, we are having this initiative. This is the aim. Will you work with us to make sure that our children are off of the streets? And that is how, my friends, meaningful progress is achieved. That is how you achieve meaningful progress. Everything does not have to be political. So we're looking forward to the ministry reaching out to us. We're here, we're willing to assist, and we would be happy to help. We want to check our friends out in the comments, and we see Kamal. Kamal, good morning. Good morning. Kamal is the Vice Chair of Region 7, and we know this morning Bartica has such a heavy heart. Christopher Shuram and you guys, our thoughts and prayers are with you in Bartica this morning as you lay Adi to rest. You know, we have, from what I've been reading, he was a stellar person in the Bartica community, and the entire community was plunged into mourning when he passed as a result of that boat accident. And so our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Bartica. Our thoughts and prayers are with Adi's family, his children, his loved ones. And so we will continue to keep you in our hearts today as you lay him to rest. We remember as well young Mr. Leach, who was very, very close to a number of our colleagues in our youth movement. Our thoughts and prayers are with their family. Elizabeth Gaskin says, good morning, good morning. Good morning, Elizabeth. Good morning. Doreen Clark says they will not reach out to you, the opposition. Doreen, we will forever be optimistic because as we keep saying on this morning program, there's 750,000 of us as we were last pegged. And we therefore have to have an all hands on deck approach to developing this nation. It cannot be that every single thing has to be a political issue. And so we will maintain that the initiative that was announced is a good avenue to build bipartisan rapport in the National Assembly and between the government and the opposition. Good morning, Michelle Terrell.
Mans, I'm happy to be back with you. My mic is hot, I believe.
I'm glad that you're back. I'm glad that you're back.
We're going to be picking up on what's brewing and some of the things brewing.
Morning brew, guys. Yeah. It's time for the morning brew.
Yeah, and some right up here, Alia Manza, some of the things that are happening internationally. We're still watching this situation here with Vladimir Putin. We're still watching this one. Yes. Things seem to be escalating a little bit, just a little bit on that front, but we are watching it. And we are reporting this morning that he has been mobilizing more troops now.
Right.
You know, I think he's a little embarrassed because some of their people, they have been pushed from some of the cities they were occupying in the Ukraine.
Right.
So he seems to be a little bit upset, and so he is amassing some more troops, and that is some of what we are seeing on that front. But folks, this is a fast-moving situation, and we really got to monitor this one on all fronts.
But this is what we were saying yesterday.
Yeah.
That when it comes to these issues, it is so fast-moving that the position you take today may change tomorrow.
Correct.
Given how it is evolving, and so we're seeing that he's mobilizing more troops for Ukraine, and he's saying that Russia, and I'm being joined here by my
Yeah.
co-host.
I'm
We
happy
have
to
a
join.
very live and hot set this morning, a
Yeah.
lot of moving parts. He says they're mobilizing more troops for Ukraine and says the West wants to destroy Russia.
Yeah. That's the situation at the
This is
at the hour. Really a number of things we're following.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just one of the issues that we're following. And guys, I'm happy to be back with you. Happy to have Amanza here, holding things down for us. That's one of the issues we're following. The other thing we are following is this cocaine bust that they have said it happened in the Turk and Caicos. They said it is the sorry, I think we have the wrong notation here, but it's the largest cocaine bust that is happening. Let me get the correct country for you, folks. So many moving parts behind the scenes this morning. But the country here is, let me get it right, Nigeria, rather. Largest cocaine bust in Nigeria to date, and a Jamaican, that's why it's making the regional news, a Jamaican, we all over the world, the Caribbean people, all over the world, a Jamaican has been caught up in that.
Very, very interesting.
Yep. And the Americans are making a real move to stem the tide of narcotics flow. They've given us every indication of that. As a matter of fact, when the CIA were here recently, that came up too. They said they want not just arrests and so on, but they want to see convictions.
They want to see convictions, and
Pimping.
I think I think that's very important, Sherrod, because
very
one of the things that you will recall is that the DEA had actually been trying to open an office here for some decades.
Struggled a lot.
And it was in 2016.
Struggled a lot
after the coalition came to power that they were able to open an office here, and you would have seen over that period a definite, a very obvious decline in the narco trade in Guyana.
Correct.
And then 2020 happened.
And then we're right back there.
September.
We're right back there.
The biggest drug bust in the history of the world.
You got Netherlands, Belgium, you got plane dropping out of the sky, you name it. Cocaine in Board, cocaine in Big Six, cocaine in Carmel, cocaine in everything. Right? We've gone right back there, and we were bringing those things down. Piracy was coming down. Major crimes, serious crimes were coming down. Even petty crimes were coming down. And we're right back there.
And you recall that we were saying that when we covered the story earlier about the police being involved in the robbery with the gold, we were making the point that the professionalization of the police force.
Oh, we're struggling.
It is.
Yeah.
And
$400 million.
$400 million.
Yeah.
But when you consider what policemen are paid,
the
when
temptation is great.
The fact that public servants within the sector within which the police fall have not been given or do not enjoy a living wage, you understand the level of temptation.
Yeah.
And you're not seeing this government taking any step
at all.
To improve policing and to improve the level of professionalism.
And that's the real tragedy there.
And you're not hearing from Robeson Ben. Where is he?
He's sick. Robeson stick. But one of the other issues we are following this morning, and this is I think is a good program, at least on the face of it. This kind of funded project launched to strengthen justice access to women and girls and indigenous people, because this is needed. And I hope we're not just playing lip service. It's not just going to be tokenism and so on. That really meaningful work gets to the people who need it the most. Access to justice for women and girls. Again, we can segue back to the issue we were covering earlier on. This other pandemic we've been dealing with, violence against our women and girls, especially, which is part and parcel of this tragic issue in Golden Grove just this morning. So on the face of it, a good initiative, much needed, but this has to be rolled out like yesterday.
But not only does it have to be rolled out like yesterday, Sherrod, it has to be the case where we understand that if the system is not fixed, then we are going to have issues, because you are putting a project tacked onto a system that is dysfunctional. So it will only breed more dysfunction
Yeah.
because every component necessary for that project to be successful
Yeah.
depends on institutions and
Yeah.
arrangements that are already in place,
Yeah.
and they are
Yeah. Yeah.
dysfunctional.
Yeah. And you know, I'm happy you mentioned dysfunction because there's something that goes with that, and it affects all of us. It took me a long time to understand that dysfunction begets dysfunction.
Absolutely.
Right? Dysfunction is not only at the ministerial level, even in our personal lives. And we have to
Right.
make such a special effort outside of that. You all realize I got a black rubber band now. It doesn't show as bad. I used to have a yellow one. But as an aside, it doesn't, dysfunction, you got to make a
Yeah.
special effort.
Yeah.
If you grew up a certain way, a dysfunctional family, there's a great chance,
Yeah.
that replicates itself. You have to try so hard to pull out of that. The dysfunction is like the event horizon, they say, at the mouth of a black hole, right? It is so strong, the gravitational pull is so strong,
so
it can pull in light, right? That's it, dysfunction, it pulls you back. It's
And
like
so,
you said, this thing in your genes, it's in the family, they say. It's in the family, the thing in the family is dysfunction.
And then you get to a certain point and it knocks you.
Yeah.
It knocks
Yeah.
you down. You see,
Yeah.
one of the things that I love about our program is that we delve into it from all.
You get the political,
angles.
you get the social,
you get the social, you get the emotional, the spiritual,
Yeah.
all of these things
Yeah.
are what make up the whole.
Correct.
And so we have to
Correct.
address it. And it comes back to a holistic approach. So this is a commendable initiative. The science, the information, the data shows that indigenous communities, indigenous women and girls are the most vulnerable group when it comes to sexual violence and interpersonal violence.
Yeah.
And they have shown the correlation between the exploitation of natural resources in these communities and the high incidence of the interpersonal and sexual violence. Having said that, it's a worthy initiative. But if it is going to depend on an unprofessional police force, it means that you have to tackle the issue of the professionalism of the police force, because you'll be just throwing good money after a bad situation.
And again, that's another thing we have to talk about, because people think because you have money, for instance, you talk about the policy end. Let's take it down to the family. People think because you have money, everything nice. You could have people with money who are dysfunctional too, because people believe if you throw money at a problem like this government does, you're gonna fix it.
Yeah,
right? If you throw money at it,
Sharon, the government is throwing money. Why don't you throw money at the public servant?
Yeah, the public servant will fix it.
Why
they got some issues.
I mean, you're throwing money.
Throw money.
But again, it comes down to the fact that there is not an integrated approach to this thing.
Yeah, and I'm happy you said it again before I miss it, because I heard you early on talking about that and what the government is doing and what is needed. That integrated approach, that all hands on deck approach. And you know what? This government got it good because you have an opposition who actually wants to work with you all. Because real lives are at stake here. When you talk about issues like this, violence against women and girls and access to justice and all of that, all of us are involved. Yes. All our constituencies are involved. And once lives are involved, human lives and people, we're interested in that and we want to work. And that's one of the things we're following. And we're seeing a turning of the tide of sorts with some of the chambers, because this is the president of the Georgetown Chambers of Commerce, Timothy Tucker, who is saying that government and opposition must grow up, set aside differences, and work together. I think it's a very important comment coming out of the GCCI. Right? That government, the larger thing here is that government and opposition have to work together. This country belongs to all of us, belongs to all of us, not just some, all of us. And so we are still grappling with some of the stuff the Americans told the government at the last trip to Washington, equity, inclusivity.
It's interesting that comment will come from the Private Sector Commission. But I think it's timely. And I think we have to, as a nation, take a pause and check ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes, there will be politics. There'll be, there's a place for the ribbing and the backing and forthing. But when it comes to developmental issues. We have to understand, Sherrod, that we cannot afford an approach where every 5 years is a building and a break.
I love that you said that.
We will
I love that
get
you said that.
nowhere. We will get nowhere.
Yeah.
When you consider, and this is why it is important for the international community, for example, to keep in the back of their minds at all times that the government enjoys a one-seat majority. They don't have a 100% mandate from the people.
You know, when Apple AFC were in government, they used to love to say that. It's a one-seat majority, but like they forget it now. They forgot that.
But a distinguishing feature was that I will recall that there are several instances where you reached across the aisle.
Yep. Yep.
The government of the day. I mean, I was in the aviation sector at the time, and I recall that there were instances where, for example, on the aviation board, on the civil aviation board, there was a place specially reserved for a nominee of the opposition. The PPPC government
locked the opposition out of all those boards.
Locked out.
Man, sir, we got 2 parts before us. It's not plenty. You know, it's like the poem by, is it Blake? You know, I see two roads. The road not taken.
Yeah.
Right?
Road less
and you got a model like the Singapore model. You got some other countries. But let's look at oil nations. Right? You either do a couple of things and you go down the road to prosperity, or you do some other things and you end up with lots of people being rich, but you. Outside your country, you make a lot of people rich from the oil and so on, but the citizens are in abject poverty. That exists. Lots of countries got oil around the world.
And I see one of our comments, Commissioner Cole, is making the point that you need practical solutions. You need safe homes. You need family shelters. You need some place of refuge for these people to go.
I heard Spotlight got a lot of money, but what they do with it, I really don't know. A lot of money, you know.
We don't know, and again, it requires a particular level of political maturity to deal with these issues. Aside from the politicking and the campaigning and all of that, when it comes to these serious developmental issues, our position has to be that we are going to collaborate is the best approach.
Yeah.
This is a problem in the PPP stronghold as much as it is a problem in the AP and UFC constituencies. So let us have a national approach to the issue.
Yeah.
You know,
and no one side can fix these problems. Some of them are so intractable. You know, we got to do it together. And we have such a good opportunity. We have such a good opportunity to look back 20 years from now and said, be happy we took certain steps very early that brought us on a certain path. We could do it. Together we can do it. We don't need people coming from Timbuktu to tell us. We can do it. It is reposed in us, you know, to do it. But if we think we can do it by ourselves, that is the problem. You know, Eliud Kipchoge, the greatest distance runner the world has ever seen. He said, you know, 100% of me, 100% of me is 1% of the team. 100% of me is 1% of the team. Together, we are capable of great things, right?
You know,
and we can do this.
Sherrod, when we were covering the live this morning from Anne's Grove, I sat there and I said, my goodness, the ambulance took a good hour to reach.
It took a long time because the folks said that incident, and we're gonna circle back to that. That's where we're ending the program on. The Anne's Grove issue. That incident took place about 1-2 o'clock this morning. You know, it was about 6:30, 7 o'clock when we left Anne's Grove after the ambulance.
Immediately after the ambulance.
And Anne's Grove isn't. I think between Victoria and Georgetown, because I considered running it once, it's about 20 miles. You can cover 20 miles. I can run 20 miles in that hour.
There you go. And so when you saw the way they brought the person out and just the limitation on the resources.
Notice I wasn't saying anything then. I was just observing.
I know.
I was just observing and let the public
it gave great cause for pause. It gave great cause for pause.
Right. And as a matter of fact, that is why we ended our broadcast initially, because by the time we were asking folks what's happening, the authorities who were on the ground there, they said the ambulance is about half hour out. And we said, well, half hour out.
Half
You can't just
hours.
have dead air, you know.
Yes, yes, and then we have the
Yeah.
program to come back to
Yeah,
prepare.
but we're gonna
for.
we're
gonna
we
circle back to
circle
that
back to
and the
that.
issue.
You
Yes.
know, this is what we're following. The CGIA, this look like it end up like the Skeleton Sugar Factory. You can take a whole set of money and it don't produce. You know, I don't know. It more money now. You know what is striking here? That the good bishop went in there. They've done so much with CGIA. They went up there, they hired upon the people, lay down the law to the Chinese contractors. Nothing more is going to happen. You're getting no more money. All kinds of things. But this is like the maddest skeleton where you just throwing money, just like the sugar industry, just throwing money, but you don't see anything. I don't know. It seems that they have gone and they have undone a lot of what the coalition did there, because I saw a whole edifice just coming down and that was newly built. I don't know what, but they're saying here more money is to be spent on quote unquote modernizing CGIA. So by the time they finish this, we could have built 40 airports in this country.
Well, I'm glad that you spoke about about 40 airports, because in my previous life I worked in the aviation sector, and what is important, and when you understand air transport and air transport economics and all of these things, it is important that you have a proper national airport. We want to make that pellucid. This is not about saying that we don't need a modern CGIA with the extended runway that they now have and the capacity to take on larger aircraft. That was why, even though the project commenced under the previous administration, the AP and the UFC sought to continue it because it was understood. I, however, am aware that there is a civil aviation master plan for Guyana that was designed by one of the most reputable international aviation firms through a program, a grant that was given to the government of Guyana from the IDB. And in that, you map out a 25-year plan for the development of the sector. I know because I was a project manager for that master plan. And so when it was delivered, this government has on its desk that plan. And I am aware of what it says, and what you are seeing is a significant departure from that, because this is a government, they don't believe in studies. And
they've also done away with the National Development Plan. Again, a lot of work, a lot of bright technical people went into.
But Sherrod, that is the answer to where we are. I keep coming back to, I think it's Uruguay, that has some of the soundest port infrastructure in this part of the hemisphere. And they were able to do that because the government and the opposition went through the National Assembly and agreed that these projects, irrespective of who is in government, will continue. So you didn't have a case where it was started by one and then the other one, because they understood and they were able to place the national interest above the narrow partisan politics. And when it comes to infrastructure in Guyana, when it comes to development, we need a national development plan. Not one conceived in Barry Jagdio's brain that he will now come to foist on people, but one that is designed in the National Assembly, but brought to the National Assembly after nationwide consultation. And we get a look, man, these are some basic things that we agree upon. We see all is critical infrastructure. So we are going to support that. A proper road network, what does that look like? We are going to support.
And I'm happy you talked about that, because as we were in Ansgrove this morning, a proper road network becomes so much more important. I saw Kadaki Amsterdam from CAMS TV the other day pointing out how some villages along the East Coast are getting brand new, fantastic roads, and some other villages not so much. And Ansgrove is one of those places you should see the ambulance struggle to get in.
We saw some of it, and the streets are narrow. It
because
was
got to go to the end of the street to turn back to come out. So not catering for any emergency there at all. But the sheer state of the road leaves much to be desired.
But Sherrod, you recall that Edgel said that if he is to declare in the National Assembly the roads that are to be built, he will disrupt social cohesion.
Remember that. Very acutely remember that. Folks, we want to now segue to what some of what transpired on the East Coast this morning, as we already there as our big issue this morning, and again very frontally this gender-based violence, interspousal, domestic violence. It's that is the other pandemic in this country, folks, and we're gonna show you some of what transpired there as they brought the perpetrator out. Initially, we reported that he had died because that is the initial information that we had, and then we learned that he was still alive but critical. And we're going to bring some of those images to you there, and then we're going to come back on the other side and offer some comments in just a second. But it was really tragic.
It was
really tragic.
It was a very disturbing thing to wake up to this morning. When we got the notification, and you come off of the issue of the constable being stabbed to death yesterday, and then you come on to an issue where there's a potential murder-suicide and there's 3 victims involved. It has given cause for pause. We really have to stop and decide the direction in which we want to go and the direction in which we want to take this nation.
Correct, is right.
And the healing really has to begin from the head. We have to begin to demonstrate a willingness to work on these common social ills. And so we're going to be bringing to you some of our coverage from Annsgrove this morning. We were there on the ground as the events were unfolding. You recall that we reported earlier that it was a murder-suicide, but we later learned that the perpetrator was actually still in the building and that he was still alive, even though in critical condition. The son, the 21-year-old Mr. Bob Jr., he died, and his mother, Miss Sharon Bob, was in the hospital in critical condition, we understand. So we're going to go bring you some of that footage from Annsgrove this morning.
We're going to try to stay out of their way.
Pull up. Beg my country. What? I don't mind what I say.
All right, guys, we're going to leave it here now. We're going to leave it here.
And we're seeing the scenes from this morning. Very, very.
Yep.
You saw the crowd's reaction to what they were seeing in terms of the condition of the perpetrator.
Yeah.
Brothers and sisters, we have to be able to do better.
Yeah.
We have to be able to do better. You see so many issues happening there, from poor crowd control to just the capacity of our first responders to respond. You saw one of them trip and fall. You saw where the person, the perpetrator, is barely strapped down to the gurney, and so you needed the police there for better crowd control, so that they.
Yeah. And this was a long time we were there with just a few policemen initially. And I would say we got there late because this happened at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, at about 2.
At about 6 something when we got there, there's just the investigators going about quietly, and the community is waking up to this. So of course they're going to converge in that area. And by the time the ambulance come, people now start rushing into the yards to get a better view. And it was just that. Now some of those folks, the other side of this is some of those folks don't know them personally, as in related to them. They're just fellow visitors, but you can hear the screams there, because that brings home to you when you see the body of this guy is critical. He has some burn marks about his body. You don't know what transpired in that house. Has some burn marks.
One of the things that we were told by somebody is that his intestines were exposed, and so you saw that.
Apparently that's how he tried to take his own life. He tried to take his own life by cutting his abdomen in some way. And of course, it resulted in what Amanda has just said. And then he's frothing at the mouth too. His body's convulsing and all that, and all of that is public consumption. Quite a scene here, but the trauma. There were young children there.
Yes.
The parents got to go and explain to them now why cousin,
right.
what's his name, took his own life.
Right.
Big uncle, killed his son. Seems to be stepson, because you see on Scott there, they go by another name. So a whole dynamic there. But of course, this is not the way. It isn't.
It isn't the way.
Isn't the way.
It isn't the way. People. It reminds me of what Martin Carter said. Everywhere men's faces are tense.
Yes. Strained and anxious. Yep. And the shining sun is hidden in the sky, and red flowers bed their head. It's an awful sorrow. Yeah. This is a dark time.
This is a dark time. And so we have to take stock. We have to take stock. The brutishness that is existing in our nation right now. We have to stop and take stock. There's a disregard for our fellow human being that we have to stop and take stock. We got to stop and take stock, because we're heading down a road that I'm afraid of what we will bequeath to our children. What kind of Guyana are we leaving them?
Yeah. Sorrow and violence.
What does that look like? What does it look like? Fancy roads and bridges, but the quality of life of the people is
I think a huge missing element is leadership, because in other places you will have leaders at a community level, the village level, who can speak clearly. Clearly they don't see any recourse. Clearly there isn't an intermediary there who can say, they can rely on to say, this is how you should approach the situation. It's a breakdown at so many levels.
But it really does point to why governance and government needs to be an integrated approach. And this is where you see, sometimes we see things in isolation, but we don't appreciate how connected they are. If you have a government that continues to disrespect local leaders, and this is a natural evolution of society, that in every locality, there will be leaders. There will be people who, by virtue of age, are respected, by virtue of their experiences, are respected. And that is how society has always evolved. It is why they're political leaders. But when you find that you have an administration that does not respect local leaders, it's an undermining.
And we've struggled with that. We've struggled with that for a long time.
That continues to happen.
You
on the guard again.
You know what I still hear people talk about? That moment in time, 1997 general regional elections, when Janet Jagan threw that coat writ over her shoulder. And then Do Not Sing leaned into her and said that was good. Right? People talk about the disrespect for the law.
And I think it was really a turning point in the spirit of Guyana. in the spirit
Yeah.
of this nation.
A lot of
To
things
see
follow.
a head of
At that time,
state
follow that.
throw, it was symbolic,
Yeah.
it was emblematic,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
don't think we have ever recovered
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
that.
You know, good leaders would come and say, "I'm sorry for
That
that.
was wrong. Yeah.
That was
yeah,
wrong."
Yeah.
You know, that should not happen.
But that didn't happen, and so I think we're living with the consequences. And my concern is that we have a president that continues to fail to rise to the occasion.
Correct.
He has been given so many opportunities to demonstrate a level of statesmanship. You refuse to let Jack Dale go on leave to facilitate a proper investigation into Sue. There again, undermining the rule of law.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
refuse to follow the witness protection legislation when a sitting member of the force comes to you and said, please, I need your help. You refuse to lift a finger. Instead, you become complicit in an exercise to tarnish and to undermine.
Yep.
Where are we going?
We're going nowhere and in a hurry.
Where
Right?
are we going?
Nowhere in a hurry. Nowhere in a hurry. A lot of issues to get through, folks. We're gonna that's gonna do it for us at this end, at least for me. I want to say
that's it. That's
Yeah,
it for
yeah,
me,
it's gonna do it
folks.
for us,
We
folks.
just have to find a way to soldier on through all of this. And at the end of the day, remember, as we have always said, Sherrod, that we the people have the power
We the people.
to change the direction
We the
of this
people.
nation.
Believe it with all my heart.
We the people have the
We the
power to change the direction of this nation. We are not without power. The people are not without power.
Correct.
And we don't have to sit
Correct.
down and take this and throw our hands up. And so at the end of the day, when we finish analyzing the issues, there's going to be need, or there just might be need for boots on the ground, because and make it very, very clear, we're not advocating rioting and destruction of people's property.
And
But
violence.
there
We don't believe
comes-
in that.
and violence. That's not what we're saying. But there comes a time when every citizen has to stand up and be counted in terms of what they stand for. Guyana right now is a depressing picture.
Yeah.
You go there and you talk to the average man and the woman on the street, they'll tell you they can't meet their monthly expenses.
Yeah. And we need your help. We need your help, guys. You know, I heard Kalaki Amsterdam yesterday afternoon saying just a few persons went out to that protest, but we stay and we talk about how, you know, a lot of folks want to commit other people to the struggle, but they don't want to be part of the struggle. Let me just put it like that. You must say, Amanza, were you there? I see Amanza, but were you there? From the vantage point that you can't see Amanza or Sherrod or Jarita.
But you know what has happened, Sharon, and as we go, there's a level of inertia in our society that we have to confront, I think. And I keep making the point, and people say, oh, isn't that the political astuteness or whatever? That is not the point right now. The point is that, as you said, this nation is at a turning point and we have to take stock of the direction that we want to go. It's very, very simple. Very, very simple. There's a level of inertia from groups that traditionally have a role to play. Where's the religious community in all of this?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the labor movement in all of this? Labor that was once one of the greatest checks and balances in history.
Correct.
You go to other parts of the world, labor is feared and respected.
Yeah.
Where is our labor movement?
Yeah. Some folks say that they get buyout, but I don't want to say that. But that's on the street.
That's the word in the
They get
street.
buyout.
Where are they?
Some of these questions we get answered 12. Thanks for joining
Join
us,
us,
guys.
guys.
Yeah. Stay safe. Share the live. Smash that emoji button, folks. Partner with us as well.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
It's okay. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Yeah. Stay safe.